Ladies and gentlemen, what's up? It's BC. Welcome back to another episode of Supreme Being, the podcast, every Monday and Wednesday at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Shout out to Team BC, my real estate team. We are nationwide. If you're interested in joining, go to jointeambc.com. We're also proudly representing eXp Realty. If you guys are in the real estate world and you want to join eXp, then go to partner with teambc.com to check out that opportunity. That's separate. And lastly, Modern Success, right? This podcast is also sponsored by Modern Success, a thriving community that I've created where I teach my most personal lessons and most in-depth and enriched information, I guess, if we're going to start using fancy words, right? If you're looking for more support from me, more personal contact and that kind of stuff, you can go to briancasella.com and sign up there. Okay. I recommend everybody join. Now let's jump into it. So, one thing I wanted to discuss today, as we continue down the journey, and I'm doing these podcasts 2 or 3 times a week for the most part. I'm still in between right now. Haven't finalized my move yet officially. But, one thing I want to talk about, 2 subjects that I want to discuss today. One is pressure, right, that you're going to feel. And also another thing that we can say is non-negotiables. Okay. Non-negotiables. Okay. So pressure and non-negotiables. Okay. Let's first start with non-negotiables. What I mean by non-negotiables is things that you do, right? Something that's a part of you and your character, and your commitment to that thing is senior to anything else on this universe. Okay. As an example, a non-negotiable for me in my life is once a month for minimum 24, but if not at least 36 hours, I will fast and only have water once a month. I don't give a shit if the day that I'm going to do it, a meteor is going to fall out of the sky and crack the earth in half and we're all doomed. Let's paint that crazy scenario. I'm still going to follow my non-negotiables. And when I talk to people, it's almost as if a non-negotiable at a societal level is like looked down upon, believe it or not. Yet when I have been around higher level people, right, and you can go into any field, because when I say higher level, a lot of people automatically equate that to monetary success, which in this case, it still reigns true. However, I don't want people to just think in that. I can go to a high level athlete. I can go to a person who is very much, we can say, religious or practices a certain type of spiritual, commitment, whatever you want to call it, right? Because I don't even know all the words for it, right? We'll just say a spiritual person, right? We can look at people who live alternative lifestyles, right? Live out in the middle of nowhere, right? And they've kind of built their own life away from the system, and complete opposite of what the traditional person would believe to be a successful life, but they're doing their own thing. Okay. Now I can give you example after example after example, but what I'm getting at is in every category that I just described, the people who are doing it at the highest level, okay, they all have non-negotiables in their life. Okay. Now I have a million. You need to look at yourself right now in the mirror as you're listening to this podcast and say, okay, what's a non-negotiable for me? Now, a lot of those for people have become unconscious and they're detrimental to their progress. Non-negotiables for people that they'll say is, well, I got to have pizza or I got to have coffee every morning, right? They'll say stuff that like they do, but it wasn't a conscious choice. What I'm talking about, a non-negotiable, and really taking this to the next level, is a conscious thing that you put in to say, I'm going to do this for XYZ purpose, and then I'm going to stick to it. And in many cases, these things aren't easy. Non-negotiables for me, right? Meditation. Sometimes I don't want to meditate. Cold showers. I love them now, but do you think it's pleasant to get an ice cold water first thing in the morning? I mean, sometimes I don't want to do it, but I still do it because it's a non-negotiable. Reading for me, non-negotiable. Training every day, non-negotiable. Right? Working in my real estate business, non-negotiable every day. Producing some sort of content, whether that be for paid and for free every day, non-negotiable. Putting myself together, non-negotiable. Taking care of my hair, non-negotiable, right? I have a lot of non-negotiable things. Now, when you compute that over a whole day, it's not that much because it's concentrated effort. But the main point of this is it's a conscious thing, and that commitment reigns supreme regardless of any external factors. This is what allowed me. Let me give you a real life example so you understand how this application of this helps you. Many people who get into the entrepreneurial world in the beginning, other people will try to take advantage of them because they claim, well, you don't have a real job. Your schedule is whenever. But if you understand the concept that I just described for the last 5 minutes, that's when you can put your foot down there in the beginning and say, no, I'm doing XYZ task at this time. And that's what I do. That is my schedule that I created, and that is my commitment. Therefore, I cannot take you to the doctor's office or do this or do that. And you ain't going to give me heartache about it like I'm some bad person. No, my commitment to what I'm doing is senior to your request. And how dare you even ask me, as if you can't ask the other person just because I have a 9 to 5. What, a 9 to 5 is more important? Right? So understand that first concept that I said, because a real life application is this, what I just discussed. Because I get that a lot. A lot of the people in the real estate community come to me. And that's one of the questions from a beginner. Man, no one's respecting my schedule. Everyone's asking me to do stuff, and I'm doing all these favors because they say I don't have a schedule. Well, that's this in practice. If in other areas of your life you have these non-negotiables, then it'll be very simple for you to make the transition now into your career path and say, wait a minute. Yes, I'm an entrepreneur and it's outside of the box. 100%. However, just because you do not understand it does not mean that the commitments that I'm setting in the non-negotiables, AKA one of them, my schedule, does not mean that I'm going to just leave it to the side because you have some request. And in your world, what I do doesn't constitute real. I don't care. You see? So these things, and this is why I do my best, even on a lot of these podcasts, to give one or two real life examples so you can really understand what I'm getting at. Because when I look at people who I admire, people who I've worked with in the past, people who I work with in the present, when people really start making leaps and bounds in progress and success, it's really this principle, non-negotiables. When somebody who comes to me who wants to become a real estate agent makes prospecting and lead generation, right, active marketing, a non-negotiable in their life every day that they work, they're going to be successful shortly after, I guarantee you. At some point in the next couple months, 6 months or year, you will hear from them if that continues to be a non-negotiable. But non-negotiables for the average person nowadays is drinking coffee, excess amounts of coffee and stimulants, bitching and complaining 24/7, having to watch that series on Netflix and binge on it for fucking 4 hours. Those are their non-negotiables. However, they won't look at it that way. They'll look at it as entertainment. No, that's a non-negotiable for you because you do it all the time. It's just unconscious. You're reacting. You're not cause point. This gives you control. This is what makes you the master of your destiny, controller of your universe, and creator of your life. Why? Because you're taking the cause point, not the effect. And everything in life is cause and effect. It's one of the universal laws. But I'm taking this law and using it in real time by saying, this non-negotiable, I will create by doing this every single day. Boom, 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 boom. Over time, I am now, by creating more often and being the creator more often than I'm not. Look at a whole day. Ask yourself, when am I create? When am I affect? The more you create, the more you start to create the life that you want, and you take control of the world. Okay? It's that simple. But when you look at, and people take stock of their actual lives, day to day, week, month, year, if they're really honest with themselves, they're not exercising this law. They're not creating. They're the effect most of the time without even realizing it. Some people think they're creating when they're not. They're acting on just impulse and responding to something without even realizing it, because they've been doing it for so long and it was passed down from generation to generation to generation to generation. Now it's just normal, right? You have to understand that growing up, if you don't take at 18 or even before then, you don't take responsibility for this and start to look at yourself as a machine that's been programmed, it's difficult. But once you do, there's a very tough and rough paradigm shift that you go through, shatters your previous self. But now taking control and listening to some of these things, although in the beginning may not be simple and easy, over time becomes more a part of your character, we can say, right? So create, 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 create. I don't want to be the effect. By doing this, by creating non-negotiables and demonstrating my commitment to it, I'm demonstrating that I won't be stopped. I'm demonstrating that when I give my word, I honor it, that I am creating, I'm not being the effect, unless I want to be the effect, right? So these are some things that start building, right? Now, add on to that, one of the first things that I brought up when we started, which was pressure, right? Pressure. Now, You've heard the old cliche saying, pressure creates diamonds. Great. So we know the thing, the force, pressure, whatever we want to call it, does serve a purpose. It's needed, right? It's used in machinery. It's used in, cars. It's used everywhere. Now, when we say it in the human context, it's feeling, in quotes, it's an emotional type of feeling. Stress, right? Time is of the essence, urgency, right? All that stuff creates pressure for a human being. Yet that same force is what builds character for somebody, right? Makes them more powerful, makes them more versatile, is somebody who can demonstrate that they can override emotional impulses and strong emotions to still get a job done and stay focused at a task at hand. That makes somebody invaluable in business and in life. Imagine if you had an army of people who were calm and focused under pressure. That's some effective ass people, regardless of what it is. Warriors, engineers, right? Being able to say, I am calm under pressure and actually meaning it and being able to do it is something I think everybody should strive for. If I was hiring somebody, that'd be great. And if they were demonstrating it to me or gave me examples of when they demonstrated that, I think that'd be fantastic. Right? Alma came to our office today, right? A new agent. And we talked about how she used to work at a law firm and she was under pressure all the time. So I immediately interjected and said, that's fantastic because you're going to be put in those positions here in this industry, especially now that you're new and you're entering a, uncharted territory, unknown land that you have no idea. But the fact that you can face something, feel the pressure, and now have already been in it for a while at a different career, you're used to it. So now it kind of softens the blow of doing these things because you've already tested yourself. That's the beauty of these types of concept, guys, is they transfer from one thing to another because this is universally applicable. A lot of stuff I talk about, I always mention that universally applicable. You can plug and play wherever you go. That's what I want to learn as much as possible. If I can get a tool that can solve issues in more than one place and it's a higher level, more improved tool, I'm going to go for it. You may not start with that, but as you develop and grow and get more knowledge, this is the type of stuff you want to start getting closer to and becoming more familiar with is how can I get that tool that does the job of 10 tools instead of having 10 individual tools? That's ultimately where we want to go, right? So the pressure. Now, you can do it. You will put yourself under pressure, even with what I said earlier. You create a non-negotiable. If it makes you uncomfortable, it will put you under pressure. If you've never done a cold shower and you live somewhere that's cold, where the water runs really, really cold, you're going to feel the pressure right when you're turning that knob and you feel that first rush of water, boom, right? Meditating, you'll feel it. You may get frustrated because you don't think you're doing it right. Non-negotiable for me, fasting. You'll feel the pressure for sure. Your mind's going to start racing. You need to eat, you need to eat, you need to eat. And now you're dealing with your head and you're trying to figure it out. And well, should I eat? Now you start making excuses. That's mental pressure for sure. So these things go hand in hand. And that's why I wanted to talk about it jointly on this podcast. But I'm doing it all the time. I've set a lot of non-negotiables and myself. And as a training tool, I put people under pressure and I put myself under pressure because that's what I want. I want that to be the comfort zone because I've created that comfort zone. If you have a comfort zone that wasn't created, it will be to your detriment and it will mess with you. If there's a comfort zone that you created through your own efforts, meaning you flipped that polarity and made something that's normally uncomfortable comfortable through your own creation and cause point action, now that's a good comfort zone to be in. Why? Because you flipped it. And that new comfort zone for you isn't the comfort zone for other people. So you're operating in a place that most individuals are not operating in. And if you understood what I just said, maybe this last thing I've been saying for a couple of years will finally click for you right now. Because that's really what it's about. So I invite you to, if you haven't already, take a more conscious approach to this non-negotiables list. Because all of you are listening to this podcast with different ideas, different goals, different dreams, different objectives in life, which is totally cool. You're all individuals. So you're going to have your own set of non-negotiables. It's cool to look at other people's. However, you need to sit you with you and create your own. Because from there, that's where you're literally creating your story. I'm going to sit down after this move finalizes in a couple weeks and I'm going to start my book and I'm going to get it done. It's already been on my mind, but from that moment on, I'm literally creating it, and it's going to be amazing. I'm going to do more than one book for sure. But right now, it's not a non-negotiable. It will be very soon. It will go from negotiable to non-negotiable. Once it's on the non-negotiable list, watch, and I'll announce it how quickly it's going to be done. The first one, until the second one comes, and the third one, and the fourth one, and so on and so forth. So I invite you to do it, because this is the type of work that when you do it, you reap the most rewards and benefits from it, because it's coming from you, not me. The idea came from me. The work is coming from you. And that's how I set everything up. And that's part of the reason why some people don't like me, because I don't hand shit to people. I don't spoon feed it to them. I open the door and say, there it is. You got to walk through. And if the door is locked, here's the key, bro. Go open it. All right. So with that said, non-negotiables and the pressure dynamic, play with these and you'll see what you can do once you really start to involve them more in your life and be more purposeful with them in these subjects, because they're very interesting, yet what they can deliver to you is beyond words and unimaginable, right? So that's it for this one, guys. I appreciate you listening to Supreme Being. We're every Monday and Wednesday at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Shout out to Team BC nationwide, right? If you guys need anything from us, reach out. We'll service your real estate needs, or go to jointeambc.com if you're interested in joining my personal team. If you're interested in eXp Realty and you're in the real estate world, go to partnerwithteambc.com and check that out. And lastly, Modern Success. If you want more one-on-one time with me, Zoom calls, and that kind of stuff, I really recommend you get on Modern Success. A lot of stuff that I teach in regards to these subjects and others that I've never released anywhere else at a different level of depth is on that program. All right. That's it for this one. We'll see you guys on the next episode. Peace.